Welcome to the Work, Wealth, and Travel podcast. I'm your host, Nicole, and this podcast is your guide to start creating a lifestyle by design. From entrepreneurship, money and finance, tax optimization and residencies, and everything in between, this show highlights the nuances of a true global citizen lifestyle. Let's dive in. Here at Work, Wealth, and Travel, we have a number of retirees who are looking to come from Western countries, from Canada, US, Australia, and other Western countries, wanting to retire elsewhere, but also retain a high quality of lifestyle. Many of our retiree clients are seeking to relocate full time to a country that has a solid infrastructure. And while it may be located in Asia or in Latin America, it is still a very efficient country where they can easily open and continue to move money into their bank accounts, investment accounts, and otherwise. While not every country fits this bill, we do see quite a few retirees who are less interested in moving to a country like Guatemala, Nicaragua, and a country that we see that is a good fit for many of our clients in terms of a high quality of lifestyle for a much lower cost of living than what they may be used to in a Western country is the beautiful country of Panama. So today we're going to be diving into the Panama Pensionado visa, what the requirements are, and how you can work toward obtaining this Pensionado visa for retirees in only a few months' time. If you're new to the channel, welcome. We are Work, Wealth, and Travel, where we assist clients globally in relocating abroad, whether it be full-time, part-time, or simply to obtain different asset diversification options so that you can start preparing for a move abroad. We operate in more than 25 countries around the globe, and if you're looking to relocate internationally, you can reach out to us below or book a consult. So when we're talking about the Panama Pensionado visa, we're first, of course, going to start with the documentation that is needed for this visa option. Now, the documentation in Panama is quite straightforward, and for a lot of the processes in Panama, whether it be investor visa, friendly nations visa, we deal with various different types of visas throughout Panama and globally. The process is much easier in Panama than we see in some other countries, with some processes in Panama requiring only one piece of documentation in order to get started. So for the Panama Pensionado visa, the documentation is quite straightforward. You're going to need to have your criminal record background check, which we guide you through this entire process to ensure that the documentation is correct before you arrive in the country. You also are going to need your birth certificate if any children are joining you on the application. And of course, you're going to need your marriage certificate if you are married and if you are applying together as a couple. And then it goes without saying, you are going to need a letter to prove that you do have a lifetime pension in order to qualify for this visa. A nice perk of working within Panama is that you can, of course, get the documentation apostilled or legalized in your home country where the documents are coming from, but you can also get the apostilled process done in Panama. We work with many of our clients to obtain the initial documentation, ensure it's the correct documentation that the government is going to want to see, but then they can simply bring the documentation to Panama and apostille the documents there. Now, there is an additional time frame for this, so this is important to account for whether you're visiting or relocating full-time to Panama, but this can be easier in some clients' cases, just depending on your time frame. So let's talk about the amount of income that you're going to need to have flowing through your pension every month. Now, this does need to be a lifetime pension. It can be private or it can be public, but the government of Panama is going to want to see that you have a minimum of 1,000 US dollars coming in for a lifetime in order to qualify for this visa. And yes, if yourself and your partner are both going to be going through the application process for the Panama Pensionado visa, then both of you will need to show that you have 1,000 US dollars or more of monthly recurring pension income for the rest of both of your lifetimes in order to qualify. There is one interesting caveat here, being that if your pension is lower than 1,000 US dollars, and this does vary depending on the amount, but if it is somewhat lower than 1,000 US dollars per month, you may still be able to obtain the Pensionado visa in Panama if you hold property in your personal name in the country. And yes, this property does need to meet a certain value. It does need to be valued at a certain denomination for it to be considered. But if your pension does not meet the 1,000 US dollar minimum of what the government is looking for, then this could be an interesting option whether you already hold real estate in the country or you're seeking to invest in a country down the line. So if you are interested in learning more about the Pensionado visa or even the Friendly Nations or investor visa or simply banking within the jurisdiction of Panama as a non-resident, we can certainly help. You've just listened to the Work, Wealth, and Travel podcast. If anything from this episode resonated with you, I'd appreciate if you share this podcast on your socials. And of course, be sure to tag us at Work, Wealth, and Travel. And don't forget to leave a review on your favorite podcast platform. Thank you for joining us on this global citizen journey, and we'll see you in the next episode.